There are a ton of races that could very easily be implemented in WoW with a ton of support in existing lore, such as the ogres or the tuskarr. However, now we have legit 3 races that could actually be realistically added soon with actual evidence. Now, keep in mind, these are not huge races like the naga or the ogres, like whole expansion feature races that will be announced on Blizzcon and will promote the expansion, but modifications of the existing ones that kind of branch off from them that are very obviously being set up to be playable in the near future, much like how they recently added the Manari as customization options, something that can be added throughout the expansion in mini patches and side stories. So what are these potential new races and what is this actual evidence that we have? If you want to get Dragonflight or anything else Warcraft related, Gamivo has some excellent deals that you can check out with my link below. Best of all, you can get software, gift cards, a bunch of games at below market prices. On top of that, you can also use my code Doron to get yet another discount, so make sure to check out my link below and grab some amazing deals at Gamivo. So, generally, I have talked about a bunch of races over the years that could potentially work because we really have so many of them in the Warcraft universe that Blizzard could really introduce tomorrow and there would be absolutely no inconsistencies, such as the ogres or the forest trolls, even the Jinyu and the Hosen, as all of these are actually already part of the factions. However, now with some of the quite recent developments, we have a few races that are actually likely to be added soon, and there is definitely a bit of evidence that we could be getting them, like some things are being set up. The main difference though is that, as I said, I don't think these are going to be like the big new expansion races that will be announced on BlizzCon, but instead they're probably going to be added throughout the mini patches as sort of like allied races, like race customizations, and therefore we'll probably be just getting them on the fly, and at the moment we got 3 very likely races. One of these could even be added in Dragonflight itself and potentially something like 10.2.5. So to start off with the Broken, they are like the Alliance ogres, but even more justified to be playable. I mean, there is literally nothing stopping the Broken from being playable in World of Warcraft, not a single thing. Remember, these are the actual draenei that we know back from Warcraft 3, like the current draenei that we're playing are just a World of Warcraft thing. So the Broken are one of the oldest established races that Blizzard created, along with the orcs, humans, night elves, and a few others back from Warcraft 3. To start off immediately with the evidence that we have, like, I'm not saying this was 100% data mined, but there are some hints. We got a newer Manari questline that we got just about a month back, where for the first time ever, we're actually able to play with real demons, aside from the demon hunters, which I gotta say, I do find a little bit ridiculous on how that turned out. I mean, we're playing the evil draenei after like 5 minutes of a questline conversation, while they have been trying to destroy the draenei for the longest time. However, we cannot play the broken draenei, which are literally more draenei than the draenei themselves, as some of them have literally given everything to defend their culture. Now, if you guys looked at the new questline, the broken are essentially invited in by Velen to join the Alliance, and it is sort of like an open offer that they're yet to accept. They didn't exactly decline it. However, the Broken are already sort of a part of the Alliance, and we have 2 completely different types of Broken, despite the fact that they're actually the same race, just devolved versions of the Draenei. The first ones are led by Akama. They're back on Outland, as far as we know, trying to restore something, but seeing that the planet is very obviously dying, I think it is about time they come to Azeroth, and I'll talk about it in a second, as we already have some hints of a bunch of Outland races moving to Azeroth, which is yet another bit of evidence. However, we already have the Broken in Exodar. They're a part of the Alliance, you can see them. The other Broken that we know from Legion are the Resistance movement that Velen had just invited that remained on Argus, but they're essentially the same thing. My guess is, since crazy things with Titans will obviously be happening soon, potentially Sargeras returning, maybe even Legion reactivating, they might have to group up with Velen eventually, which will prompt them being playable. It seems like Blizzard is setting up the ground for them. The only reason they haven't been added is literally, I mean, let's just be real, they're a bit more work since it's not the same model. The whole reason they really added the Manari instead of the Broken is because they're just red draenei with a few more customization options, so just a reskin, but the Broken look a little bit different, so it would definitely be more work. They should have just told the Broken chieftain, like, we would love to have you, but we gotta allocate a few more resources before we can build this and make this playable. However, Blizzard has actually already kind of expanded customization variations, creating a precedent from what it was in the past, from how basic it was in the past. For example, you got the multiple body types for the Draktyr, where you can like scale how wide the Draktyr is, so they could literally do the same thing for the Broken, just like a different body type, but they could look very similar. Now, other than the Broken, we have the ever interesting dwarves that everyone has been talking about for the past few weeks. Now, I have actually covered this in the past. This has been a setup that has gone under the radar that no one has really been talking about, that we got right around the start of Dragonflight with this new Northrend book. Now, you may remember how we essentially got a Northrend update to the current day, like what happened after the Jailer to Northrend, and we know that the dwarves had gotten into significant contact with the Frostborn, also known as the Frost Dwarves, also known as a different colored dwarf that could very easily become playable. Essentially, these guys had saved Nuradin, they're in really good relations with the playable dwarves, and they are a de facto alliance race, they're technically almost a part of it. Why they are even more relevant than ever in the past is the entire Kazlagar storyline that has been data mined, that is coming in 11.0, and this is yet another new Dwarven race that could potentially be playable. We essentially, at this point, know nothing about them, but we know from the document that they're dwarves, so it seems like the dwarves as a race will be a pretty big storyline in the new expansion. Like, they will expand on the actual Dwarven heritage, which could not only combine these Frost Dwarves that were already set up, but also this new mysterious race that they might reconnect with, so we might even be getting two things for the dwarves. From the practical side, as I said, super easy to implement. I mean, they could essentially just be a customization option, or if they want to make them a little bit different, they could just be a customization options for the new Kazlagar Dwarven race, if they become playable, of course, if. But keep an eye out for the dwarves, it really seems like something is definitely being set up for them. Next down the line, we have the Orcs, which is yet another race with quite a big setup. So all of this comes from the Orc Heritage questline, where Troll had essentially decided to invite everyone Orc related to create a new Kosh'arg festival, which is this ancient Orcish tradition, and we got a ton of races you would not expect to see, such as the Warlocks and the mok'nathal, that everyone was surprised to see. Long story short, a lot of this seems like a setup to unite the Orcs as a whole, to create a new type of a horde, to create some type of a hegemony, which may end up resulting in new types of playable races. One of these are the Warlocks that have been invited, that had obviously long been shunned in the Orcish society. Now, they themselves are not exactly different from the regular Orcs, but it could result in a more sinister looking Orc variation, possibly even a Fel Orc, which we could see playable, despite them not exactly being nice, but maybe some of the Warlocks remained as Fel Orcs, decided to join the Horde. On the other hand, we got the mok'nathal, that seems to be the biggest setup of this entire thing. First of all, not only has Rexxar been relevant recently, but we have even data mined his beasts in 10.2, despite nothing connected happening with them. But also, we had a major interaction with the mok'nathal during this questline. Keep in mind, the mok'nathal are not exactly a part of the Horde, but they're friendly, sort of similar to the Frost Dwarves, like essentially an identical situation. In the past, they were shunned due to their ogre heritage, but seeing that mok'nathal, Rexxar, had essentially built Orgrimmar and the new Horde, and the fact that the mok'nathal just recently said that they like the Horde and how it has changed from the past, it obviously seems like something is being set up. Even more interestingly, as I said, there are hints that a lot of the races are abandoning Outland as the planet is obviously dying. First of all, the Black Dragons that were dominant, that essentially dominated the entire zone, just left in the Dragonflight, and a bunch of these Orcs and potentially even the Broken are moving back to Azeroth. This could mean that we could be seeing the mok'nathal settling somewhere on Azeroth, if potentially included in this revamp that may be coming, a revamp with Rexxar leading them. Now, from the practical side, I know they look a bit different, as they're obviously half ogres, not just orcs, and Rexxar's model is definitely a bit different. However, the other mok'nathal that you run into the game are literally just a Mag'har variation. I mean, I could definitely see them being adding as a new body type for the Mag'har, similar to how I said they could do the same for the Broken and the draenei, and we could be getting a bit bigger and wider orcs with a little bit of a different facial structure. Realistically, it could even amount to a slight change in a recolor that can be added as a part of a revamp or a new side quest line in the next expansion. Other than this, of course, we always have the potential for the long expected, long requested races to be added, such as the ogres or the naga, depending on how the storyline progresses. As I said in the past, with how much development the tuskarr had gotten in Dragonflight, I wouldn't be surprised we picked them up by the end of this expansion, like how we picked up the Mechanomes or the Valpyra back in BFA. However, these 3 allied races customizations do seem like they could actually be added quite soon, and not just in the next expansion, but potentially even in Dragonflight itself. Thank you for watching. Check out is the new classic expansion actually coming by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on ancient Greek colonies in Spain by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.